Hello, and welcome to What the Tech from Boast, where we talk with some of the brilliant minds behind new and exciting tech initiatives to learn what it takes to tackle technological uncertainty and eventually change the world. I'm Paul Davenport, Boast resident tech journalist, and today I'm thrilled to welcome to the show Melvin Newman, CEO and co founder of Patabid. At Patabid, Melvin and his team are on a mission to provide contractors with a competitive edge in the marketplace through automating the entire construction estimating process. With Patabid, customers can build estimates accurately and swiftly using features like automated screen takeoff, automated pricing and labor features, quick item pads, blueprinting, pre built assemblies, and more. The platform goes even further than streamlining estimates, though, allowing users to actually find public tenders from across North America to bid right within their Patabid quantified workflow. All of this is rooted in Melvin's deep expertise as a developer. He's the inventor behind the neural network artificial intelligence that drives Patabid tender search and analysis engine. It's no small feat, but through his leadership, managing and building the infrastructure behind Patabid, he's helped deliver the number one unified public tender and electrical estimating software platform available. It's a lofty mission, and the results are already impressive. I can't wait to pick Melvin's brain on his journey through the tech space and what's next as Patabit grows. So, without further ado, welcome to the show, Melvin.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Uh,
Awesome to be here.
Melvin, can't thank you enough for coming on the show. I know that we were connected through our friends in the ecosystem, and I want to give a shout out to because they recognized you, and you're one of the top 10 in the ecosystem. So, talk to me a little bit about that before we go into the background.
I don't know about the top 10 there. There's the ecosystem construction. There are a lot of very brilliant people in this whole industry. But what's been driving myself ever since I graduated from college was innovation. One of my early managers and mentors kind of identified that. And at one point, we were having a discussion on, uh, just construction process. And this was back in the early 2000s. And he's like, well, do you think you can do better than what we're doing? And being, an arrogant 20-year-old, I was like, oh, I think anybody could do better than this. Come on. And he's like, go do it. And he gave a blank check, and we hired a couple more guys that I graduated with. We deployed the first 3D modeling VDC processes. We bought one of the first 3D scanners that Trimble produced, and implemented all these processes before Revit was even like a thing. We were doing this in AutoCAD. Um, and so, oh yeah, it was pretty wild. So shout out to Tony Dolan on, being a true futurist on all of that. And so that basically just carried through my career. Went to a couple of different companies to get different experiences around the different aspects of construction. To any younger listeners out there, you cannot beat getting into the construction side of things. It is ripe for innovation. These construction companies are getting, desperate for innovation right now. So if you're young, if you work hard, if you've got, thinking outside the box in your corner, it is a fantastic career path. And so in all of that, got really excited about the front end of business, the estimating, the pricing, where companies will get severely hurt without even necessarily knowing it, at least not for a year or two. And how do we resolve those issues? And so started dabbling into, AI back in 2016, 2017, before we had a lot of the tools that we have today. Had to build them from scratch. So built a neural network to do NLP processing to identify key tenders that I could go after in my job. Kicked off Patabit to commercialize some of that as a hobby. It was, just sitting off the side of the desk. In 2021, it picked up steam, had to decide what I want to be when I grow up. And in 2022, left construction to go full time at Patabid, but supporting construction and everything that we do in that ecosystem at the very front end of business. And my focus has always been on the mechanical, electrical, plumbing side of like what's called the complex trades. And so there's the old adage that civil engineers build targets, mechanical engineers build the bombs. And I went through for mechanical engineering, the complex side of it. And so that was kind of one of our sayings in school. Really enjoyed, the complexity that these trades bring and the creativity that that enables in everything that we do. I mean, when you're in construction, you never build the same thing twice. Every building that we build is completely different from the next one. We build endless prototypes. So it is a bottomless pit of what you can get into and, do that's really exciting in this field. So that was a long-winded answer there, Paul. I hope it didn't go down too many tangents for you there, but there you go.
Now, Melvin, I looked down because I was taking notes because you have so many beautiful ways of phrasing things that I actually really want to call back on. So the most immediate one was never build the same thing twice. I think that's kind of like the characteristic of what we're supporting here at Boast and what we want to make
Mhm,
sure that people are doing. Like, that's all point. Like, you really want to make sure that you're never just reiterating on the same process. You're actually advancing something forward and that you're getting rewarded for it. So that's the only time that I'm going to give the R&D tax credits shout out, just because it's top of mind right there. But I love also too that you were talking about just like the timeline of your journey through all of it. Like, again, my notes are terrible, but like the electrical and plumbing, like, that might seem like table stakes, but I also think it's fundamental, and I think that, like, that is
mhm,
something that you need to make sure that you're innovating on in terms of making sure that you're getting these essential, fundamental infrastructure items optimized, and I think
mhm.
it tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I'm gonna just you're hitting the nail on the head there, but I want to give a shout out. The R&D tax credits and what happens. You've said it there too. This is not just so listeners know. This isn't a scripted piece of this. This
Mm,
is I have not been paid or anything to say this, but we at Patabid have had R&D tax credits in our regions to facilitate a bunch of what's gone into this. And in the companies that I worked for, we went for some of those in construction because there is so much room for research and development right now in what we're doing. And to any construction listeners out there with your companies, explore those tax credits. Um, we call it non-dilutive funding in our side of the business. But that sort of thing is absolutely awesome if you're a construction company, you're running thin margins, but you have an idea. You want to deploy some sort of new process, prefabrication, development. That sort of support is huge to all of the, entrepreneurs out there in the construction industry. So I hope that kind of touched a little bit on your answer there, but yeah.
that was beautiful because also I think you're getting to a point that I really want to make sure that everybody who's listening today hears is that when you qualify for that funding, it's validation from the government that you are doing something that is genuinely innovative and something that is genuinely going to move the needle, or at least is worth exploring. Like, the government wants to back you up
Mhm,
on that. And so, like, there's so many ways to read that, but like, let's say you're an early stage startup. If you get that funding from the government, that shows investors that, okay, this is something that is actually genuine and actually
legit.
going to move the needle and actually going to be legitimate. Exactly. So then when you get older and when you're actually claiming that funding, when you have more people who are actually working on the R&D at the end of the day too, like, it's free cash, it's non-dilutive, which is, I'm so happy you made that point. Not going to actually pull from your capital strategy in the traditional sense that people expect. It's incredibly important, but also it's another layer of validation. It shows that you're
Yeah.
actually bringing something to product democratization and like actually making something that is going to be applicable in real world scenarios. But like even just doing the
Mhm.
research, like I think that's maybe the big thing that goes unspoken with Shred. It doesn't have to be productionalized. I'm like, if you're doing the work, the government wants to back you up and they are going to remember you and they
And
want to know these people.
they can also take on the higher risk. Like
Mhm.
that's the nice thing about these funding pieces here. If you've got R&D that is um you're not 100% sure of its commercial viability. Like
Right.
you know that the idea is out there, but you're not actually sure if what you like you want to produce a new fundamental model for an LLM. The amount that has to go into that of pure research, and you don't know if the project is going to succeed or fail. You don't know, like, you may have an idea of how the math is gonna work out, but you don't know until you actually go and do it, and you have to fund the training of that thing, which is always the expensive part. Um, that's the kind of place where good luck trying to convince an institutional venture capital firm to help you. They're yeah, they're gonna be a hard no. Whereas, Shred and some of these other government incentives, they're there to help you in those very high risk scenarios. And they can help facilitate that initial getting off the ground to prove at least the viability of it. So like you can come out of there and say like we now know with like 99% certainty that this path will work, and you can then take that to investors. So it's actually a arguably a non-socialistic way of doing things right. Like it's what I would argue more of the successful capitalism in there, where you can find support for small business, where you don't have to prove that you're a unicorn, which basically requires you to already be one by the time these investors are willing to look at you, and you can move your
Sounds
idea
like
forward. Yeah. Let me tell you, unicorn status is I I struggle with some of what is going on right now in the investment markets in North America. Not because of stuff that we've personally been through, but just watching the requirements. They're like, no, you have to show that you have a potential to be a unicorn. I'm like, by its very definition, you can't actually do that while telling the truth. You can do it while lying through your teeth, but you can't do it while showing the object reality. And yeah, it's a whole thing the way some of these funds work, where we are here and it's how bubbles form.
you have taken the words out of my mouth and you said them better than I would have, just because I couldn't emphasize enough to just like, I think being genuine is maybe the name of the game, and just being able to communicate that you have a solution and not
Yeah.
just you're writing a coattail. Like, I know that's a little to the side of what we're talking about, but like, I'm thinking about the AI of it all, and I'm a little burned from going through a million conferences and, like, doing all this. And again, I'm here in the States and I'm talking to you up in Canada, so it just it's tricky, and, I think you framed that beautifully. So I would love to know too, just, like, funding innovation, like, what has been your approach? I know that this is something that you've already alluded to this, and I also think thank you for the shred shout out, but, like, there's more to it, and how do you actually bring people into the fold and bring people to buy in for you?
Funding innovation. That's a fascinating topic, because innovation by its very nature is risky.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, one of my favorite ones is Thomas Edison
yeah,
versus Nikola Tesla. They they were both extreme innovators. Edison basically did everything within his power to bury Tesla, and yet today all the world runs on AC power generation, which was developed by Tesla. And even though, Thomas Edison was by no means poor, did not come out of that, in a bad way. He invented so many other things.
yeah.
Um, but his power gen completely failed.
Mm.
And so innovation, it's almost impossible to identify. You can get good senses, you can, but it's risk. What is going to succeed today? Like we went through the dot-com bubble. And in hindsight is always 2020. Um, but the dot-com bubble burst and so many innovative ideas failed. The internet did not go away. We still have the internet today, and arguably the vast majority of innovative ideas have now actually come to fruition. So like pets.com failed, but now we have Amazon. And so or
And
ginormous
Chewy and
Amazon.
Petco. Yeah,
Yes.
I digress. Sorry, I was
Yeah.
dog sitting last week. Yeah. I was
And
like,
so
"Why did"
all
I'm like, "What just got delivered here?" I don't get it. Yeah.
oh, Christmas is brutal. Like, it's a
Oh,
never-ending train of packages to the door, and I'm like, "I don't even know anymore what's
yeah,
going
their
on
mistakes
here."
that are following us in a million different ways, but I digress. Continue.
But, like, how do you identify the correct innovation? On some level, you literally can't. You have to take the risk. And so it becomes a question of how do you mitigate that risk? And where should that mitigation happen? Honestly, at a societal level, like where should we as a North American society take our risk? Pure unfettered capitalism would suggest that Wall Street should take that risk. Wall Street really can't take that risk in a defensible manner, like for pure new R&D. Um, but I think they should contribute to it. I think that that should be something that because they can't directly take the risk, and they can't explain that to their fund managers can't say that. But if we don't take the risk somewhere, that's a core problem. Because then we can't innovate anymore. You have to be able to take it. So this is where having these sort of funds that you can apply to, having these non-dilutive essentially ultra high risk financing that you can get into, these government grants, that sort of thing, allows innovators to try. And the true innovators are the ones that are going to rise above that and move on. Like you'll very quickly be able to kick out the ones that are just trying to either farm the government, or aren't actually able to put the work in to do it. And it is, let me tell, if you're on the listening in here and you have any aspirations to start a company, consider getting a tattoo on your face. You better know what you're getting into before you do it because you're going to be living with it.
Okay, so,
And
Melvin, not to
yeah,
disrupt you, but I frequently
yeah.
use the thing, I'm like, "Okay, well, your, founding partner is going to be the person you're in bed with for the next years until you have to kick them out, and then do you wanna have that conversation?" And, like, I have a very different analogy, I think yours works better. Getting a
No,
tattoo is a lot less personal, but it emphasizes that it's on your body, it's on your existence, and, like, it's
it becomes
what you
part of you.
bring. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
And like, unless you come from disproportionate amount of inherited wealth, let's call it that way, family wealth. Starting a company from scratch is incredibly difficult. Like we here at Patabid, we were bootstrapped for the first 5 years of what we did, and none of us came from business families. None of us came from any of that. It was a tremendously vertical cliff to keep climbing. And one thing that really helped us out was to get involved with the local startup community. So in Calgary here, we've got what's called Platform Calgary, which is a municipal slash government funded. They literally have a building downtown where it's a co-work space. It's everything in there. And you can go and literally just hang out with fellow entrepreneurs and you can share notes about, the salespeople that were actually defrauding you, and
Yes.
share those kind of really painful lessons so that ideally you can start to mitigate some of that stuff and come up with strategies to succeed. And it's what you need to do as a startup, especially if you don't come from a business history in there. And then you just have to be sucking for punishment. Like straight up, I'm just going to say you have to be ready, willing, and thrive on just personal abuse and suffering.
Thrive
Masochism
on,
is a requirement.
that's actually the name of the episode. Thrive on personal abuse and suffering. But no, I'm
Yeah,
so happy you threw that out there to the Platform Calgary team too. Like Jill and like everybody has been amazing there, but like that's unique. And that
it
is not
is.
something that you have in most ecosystems. I'm still using jargon, but like literally in the cities you live in and in the communities that you actually engage in with the humans that you're trying to provide solutions to, like at the end of the day.
Yes.
So it's refreshing to hear that take. And I really,
Oh,
really appreciate it.
we need more of that. Like just
Yeah,
it here in North America, we do need more of that because some ideas that should go forward do die on the vine simply
sure.
because the founders don't actually know. They like I have heard stats, thankfully I heard this well after starting the business, that like 98 to 99% of startups fail. And I was in some rooms with people around the table and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I'm glad I didn't know that stat until we were well and truly revenue profitable, like revenue positive and getting profitable." I'm like, I didn't know we weren't going to fail. So just as another shout out, naivety is not a bad thing. Naivety can sometimes give you a superpower where you don't know it's not possible.
Well, I think in your case too, just like I'm glad you had those blinders on, to be honest. I'm glad that you didn't know that like the odds were against you.
Oh
But
yeah.
you've built something that is
It's
actually effective, and it solves a problem, which I think is actually at the
mhm,
core of, like, what differentiates, like, a startup from success from the other. Like, it's not just a
mhm.
problem that you felt acutely, it's something that you saw you could solve for others in your field, and at scale, to be honest. Like, that's
Yes.
really what it needs to be, and I see it.
Everybody listening, like there are no limits. Like when I started out personally, I had no idea. Like I needed a way to sort through all of the public tenders across North America so that I could identify key ones to go after. And so I bought some textbooks on natural language processing, on AI development back in 2015 and 2016. I still have them on my Kindle. And just started plowing through this and started building. And then one Christmas, it started to work. It came online in 2017 and started to work, which was just terrifying to watch how good it was getting. And I swear to this day that we called it Doug. We actually have a plushie back there on my there was a fun tender that came across the board for prisoner restraint chairs, which for the police services, which Doug classified as office furniture. And I was sitting at my desk at my cubicle in my office at that time, and I just about fell on the floor laughing because I'm like, "Yep, that's what I'm sitting in is a prisoner restraint chair right now." And so, like, here's
Um,
what they cost. We can also tell you now that if you ever want a stuffed and mounted woolly rhinoceros, which is an animal that I found out exists, it's about $60,000 because it was a public tender that came across the system. And I actually ended up a couple years ago going to the museum that had put this tender out, and I got to see the actual exhibit running. Like, that's $60,000 there. I have the tender for a stuffed woolly rhinoceros.
where have I been? Because that is so in my, like, realm of
Oh,
interest that
there's
I
so
missed
much
the fact.
weird stuff out there,
Yeah.
but that's where the AI came in. and the very first model that we built, and then we got connected up with a gentleman by the name of Maxwell. He's a comp sci doctor, and he it was so funny. I got on a call with him, and he basically said, "Yeah, I don't believe you've done this." He's like, "I'm gonna have to take a look at this," and I'm like, "Okay." So we signed an NDA. I dumped all the code on it. I'm like, "Here's everything." I didn't really know what I was doing at the time and what I was sitting on, and and then I heard nothing. And like 6 weeks later, I get this call back from him and he's like, "Hi, it's Maxwell." I'm like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And he's like, "We got to talk." He's like, "Do you know what you've done here?" I'm like, "I have no idea." He's like, "Do you?" He's like, "How did you come up with this?" I'm like, "It just had to work." Like at the end of the day, I was under a massive amount of pressure and I needed this to work. So I found a way to make it work. And he's like, he looked at me, he's like, "Okay, what's your degree in?" And I'm like, "Oh, dude, I don't have a degree." And he laughed. He's like, "No, no, seriously, are you computer science, engineering?" I'm like, "Dude, I went to college for 3 years of mechanical engineering that I did in four because I sucked at it." And he was like, "Oh, I have so many more questions." And so it was absolutely hilarious. And then since then, we've got, chat GPTs that are out now and all that kind of stuff and Claude, Anthropic and all those organizations. And 3 weeks ago, we actually started up our first in-house LLM that is specifically geared to construction in these complex trades. And it's running on our own hardware in our own data center. And like the sky's the limit for innovation. Like if you just grind at it, it's awesome.
The construction piece of it all, too,
Mhm.
just, everyone who listens to the show knows I'm an architecture nerd. I got into journalism because 'cause I'm not bad at math, I just was lazy and had ADD, and so, like, I really wanted to just look at the pretty product, not actually see the mechanics. That has changed as I've aged, and now I'm, like, so deeply interested, and I'm reading about just, like, I'm I have a habit of pulling things off my bookshelf, and I'm not going to because I don't wanna grab the wrong book, but, like, Wasteland and, like, Happy Buildings, like, all of those,
Yep.
like, those are my
Yep.
books, and I gave myself a crash course in just, like, "Okay, if you could have lived a different life, you would have done this, and you would have been happy during the pandemic." But, I'd love to know just, like, tell me more about how Patabid is literally just taking the middlemen out of the situation. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's maybe the best way to employ it, but, like, making it
What
more
we're
accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's an interesting way of putting
and I
it.
know
We're
that's
not
not the point.
trying it sort of is. Like, we're not trying to take the middleman out. We're trying to automate as much of
That
that
makes
middleman's life as possible. Like, a lot of people are terrified about AI, and AI is something that you've gotta be, as a society, very careful with. AI in and of itself, these machines aren't actually thinking. They can look like it, but there are a whole set of formulas that have to be triggered in a precise way to generate the output that they do. And there's a whole bunch of technology we can get into, and the actual structure of these things. They're really really fascinating. But what they do is they amplify the human. So I argue, don't ever be afraid of the AI. Be afraid of the human who's controlling the AI. That's kind of the key because the AI amplifies the human. It will amplify the good aspects of the human and the bad aspects of the human. That is really what they do. They can accelerate everything that you do, but they have to have thought put into them to trigger them. So we're in a very symbiotic time period as a society with this. And what we do in construction is we're trying to alleviate there's some massive problems in the front end of construction. Uh, an aging population, in the front end of construction business. They're retiring out. There has not been a lot of thought in North America put into raising up another generation of estimators and that sort of thing. So the ones that are there are getting hammered with a lot of just more of everything. And on top of that, construction is inherently high risk because we are continuously building prototypes. It's exceedingly hard to get a firm foundation of where the costs and risks are. This is where AI can dramatically reinforce estimators. And then it's also where doing the tie-ins with suppliers to bring real-time pricing in and that sort of thing automates that incredible level of detail. So when you're done that number, you've completed that number faster, you've risk mitigated that number by, a small to mid-sized contractor. I've worked personally at most levels of construction, from like mid-size to super large. I haven't done, really tiny. Um, but the really big guys have teams of lawyers that review everything for you. The mid-size and down guys, they can't afford that, but they desperately need that in this day and age. And that's where AI can start to facilitate that sort of risk analysis, that sort of aspect of it. And then you, as the owner, can decide what you want to do with that information. It's still up to you to decide what your strategy is. And so that's what we're doing is we are dramatically backstopping the estimator in their daily grind. And then we're helping the owner and the company understand what they're looking at on a project by project basis so that they can start to have more surety and confidence in the numbers that they're putting together. So I hope that kind of touches on this. And I mean, it's a near bottomless pit of where you can go down in construction and each of the layers where technology kicks in right up until you're actually operating a finished building. Like it is fascinating how much focus construction takes versus the longevity of the actual building when it's done. So,
Oh,
yeah.
Melvin, I think you hit on the head of why I didn't want to become an engineer. I'm like, I do not have the focus to make sure that every decision that I make can be dramatically reinforced. And I think that's something like I really want to make sure is repeated. It's dramatically reinforcing the expertise of the skilled talent that is actually doing this work. And it's not replacing the talent necessarily, but it's making them more efficient.
Mhm.
Also, again, I welcome anyone to punch holes in that.
What it's doing is this goes to a little bit of my own personal philosophy. It's removing the excuse not to think. If you want to just sit there day in and day out and copy values between different Excel spreadsheets and that AI is going to do that vastly faster, my personal philosophy is it always should have. Um, this is something where you don't even necessarily need AI for. We are humans. We have an incredibly powerful supercomputer. It's called the 11-pound shoulder mounted supercomputer. Um, and that is what we need to be using day in and day out. And we should have always been using that. Um, so that's kind of where I think, AI is enabling new amounts of thought to be done, new amounts of creativity to be done. Um, that's just my personal take on it.
Melvin, I actually love that you put words to something that I've been thinking about for a long time. I'm just like, we do this again. Like, we're a small team here at Boast. Where it's me and a few of my friends, and not in the company level, but like on the marketing team. We're very small, but we're so effective. And I'm just like,
Yes.
okay, none of us have turned to outside tools. We're yet. Well, we have recently, and I do now. But in the very early days, it was really just like, okay, these are the people who really know what they're talking about, and we want to give them superpowers. And we want to really make
Yeah,
sure that we can accelerate what they're really good at. And
yeah.
yeah, it hasn't robbed anybody. It's just helped the people with the
And what you're passionate
expertise.
about, like, I am not an artist in any way, shape, or form. I am a music consumer. I will freely I love Spotify because I can listen to all sorts of different genres on any different day. One of my Spotify unwraps for what was it, 2024? My number
Oh,
one genre was German bagpipe music. So and right now it's classical music done with techno pop. And so like Beethoven, but done techno style.
oh,
So you
Melvin
get into
Newman
that.
actually have that in common. That was my number three.
And so AI can enable me to achieve what I like from an artistic style without having any skill. I'm never going to be a famous artist. But I wanted at one point a cool desktop picture with a particular style that I had in my head. I went to Gemini and had that image punched out with a few quick prompts as one of my desktops. And it just makes me happy to see it. It's not even something that I'm ever going to post anywhere else for anyone else. It was a pure personal thing. And I'm like, that is pretty cool. Like I am an unskilled artistic neophyte and am able to at least still get out what I see in my mind's eye relatively. So it's a fascinating enabler in that respect. Some people call it AI slop, and believe me, there is plenty of AI slop out there. I don't know that it should be out there, but if I want something for myself that I just like a, for a desktop, a nice meadow with a waterfall in the back. That was literally like the prompts that I was putting in, and it just worked. I'm like, that is so cool in a particular low poly kind of view and everything. And it was really, really cool to see what it spit out. And yeah, that's kind of the unique time period that we're in right now.
It is. And I think also like that's a thing, it's not replacing you, it's enabling you. I that's like the
Exactly.
that's a sum of all of this. Yeah, like of course there are guardrails that we need to put, and I don't think AI should take over the world. Yes, but
The
within
the
what we're
fundamental
talking about here,
Yeah, the fundamental problem is like, the risk that we have as a world is because it enables so much. If people want to do
perfect.
nefarious things, they
Yes.
can do it better, more effectively also. And like you want to craft specific subtle messages based on the current trending social topics to move a conversation in a specific direction on a societal level. Yeah, AI makes that incredibly fast and effective to do. Um, those are the downsides of every technology that we have.
It also comes down to your goals too. And I
Yeah.
think that like Patabid doesn't have bad goals. Yeah, you like
We're improving construction. We're not trying to change society's message. That helps a lot.
and also like in a very material way, you guys are not
Yes.
trying to swap out anything. Like you want to make sure that the people who can actually design things that will support society in a very physical and meaningful way.
Well, one of our biggest drivers is I don't want people to get hurt. Like, and
Like
I mean that on a financial, societal level. Like,
a
these
design level.
construction companies are putting their companies on the line, especially when they move into a step change. Like they're growing from that residential contractor to being a commercial contractor. They're going from a commercial contractor to being an industrial contractor or building hospitals. These are step changes in a company's life
Totally.
cycle. And every one of those step changes is a tremendous risk for the company because you don't know what you don't know when you take that step. Like you don't know what these new bigger projects entail for risk and all of that sort of stuff. You can see what looks like a good reward, but you don't know where the big stick is that might hit you over the head. And that's the kind of
Mhm.
stuff where Patabid is trying to come in and say, like, okay, are with using what we do, you can help step over that step. And you're not going to put the company at a colossal risk. Like, we'll help you identify that. We'll help you understand and properly monetize that risk so that you can make that step change, bring in more people to start like doing those projects and take that leap. And it's been fascinating to see how it's worked out for our companies who have reached those points and then taken those steps with the platform. And then, we get the call back and they're like, yeah, I need more licenses because my company's growing and I have to hire a bunch more people. And I'm like, that is that is the big, huge check mark beside what we do and the validation for what we do.
I love I love it because this is a practical use of AI in a way that is, again, it's not trying to usurp, it's trying to enhance.
No,
And like that's the
exactly.
biggest thing. And like it's making it safer for everybody, even the frontline people, let alone the second line people or the third line people. N- They're gonna inherit information that was garnered through an AI that didn't have to go through physical extremities to try to, like,
Exactly.
act I'm
Yes.
thinking about the construction space, which I've never worked in, but, like, yeah,
It's the best.
I really cannot thank you enough. So, again, I wanna know what's up for the next year.
So getting our LLM live, like we're beta testing it with a few clients right now, and no software ever survives interaction with the user. So it's been really fun to see how, and because I'm a masochist, it has been really fun to see how they've broken it, what it's been, generating and doing for them. So getting that production ready and out there. We're going through our first formal raise that we're kicking off in the next couple weeks here to accelerate all of this. And then just growing the clients. Like at the end of the day, helping them grow their business. We've entered some new markets in Europe and in New Zealand, which has been really fascinating. And yeah, seeing where we can push the construction industry, especially in that MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing space.
I am so happy to hear it, Melvin. Like, truly, this is again, personally, I have a vested interest in development, and it's just something that I am a nerd about. I don't know why, but I do. I mean, I live in Boston. It's very expensive to live here, and I would love to see some more housing construction at a cost-effective model. So
Yep.
we'll be reaching out after the fact. But this is fantastic.